This video is a breakdown of 420 roll tacking. We're going to divide the tack into 3 separate phases. First the initiation, then the roll, then the flattening. And in each phase we're going to look at the position of the rudder, the trim of the sails, the placement and movement of weight of the crew, and we're going to talk about timing of each of these things. Phase 1, initiation, begins with the boat going full speed in a close haul position and continues to the point where the jib starts to back. In Phase 2, the boat moves from the head to wind position down towards the new close haul position. In Phase 3, the boat is flattened hard, re-accelerating it and returning the boat to the new close haul position. In the initiation phase, the rudder begins centered in the boat and is moved gently towards the edge of the leeward tank. As the turn continues, the tiller can be moved to the center of the tank, but it never moves any further than that. In moving any further than that, the flow is disturbed and the boat appreciably slows down. In the initiation phase, the main is pulled in hard, even tighter than close haul. In this example, the skipper pulls the main in a little bit late. Pulling the main in gets more pressure in the leech and helps the boat turn to windward. In the first phase of the tack, the crew moves a little inboard and uncleats the jib, but does not move the jib, leaving it in place to backwind and help turn the boat. In the initiation phase, the sailors do very little with their bodies to help turn the boat. The only movement is to lean in a little with the upper body and the crew to get inboard enough to uncleat the jib. Moving too far inboard and heeling the boat even more to leeward causes more sliding than turning and is actually counterproductive. The roll is the quickest and most tricky part of the tack. The backwinded jib and a well-executed roll from the sailors very quickly moves the boat from head to wind down towards the new close haul position. The position of the rudder and the sails remain unchanged during this portion of the tack. The timing and movement of the sailors are the critical part of the tack. To speed up the turn through this part of the tack, the sailors, in unison, thrust their bodies towards the new leeward side of the boat. These sailors slide outboard but are careful to keep their shoulders in towards their feet so that they can get up for the next phase of the tack. There are 2 critical aspects in the timing of the roll. The first is when to roll. The boat should be rolled when it is head to wind or a split second later. Rolling sooner than this produces a far less effective roll tack. The second critical element of timing is that the skipper and crew must roll together, synchronized, and move essentially as one. Flattening the boat hard affords an opportunity to re-accelerate the boat, as you can increase the flow of air across the sails and water across the rudder and centerboard. Just as the flattening process begins, the rudder is brought back to the center line of the boat, where it stays for the rest of the tack. The tiller extension is brought all the way to the other rail and held there until the sailor gets to the rail and can switch hands. By holding the tiller extension on the windward rail, the skipper keeps the rudder straight through the flattening process. As the driver crosses the boat, he eases the main sheet 12 to 18 inches to put the sail in a close reach position. As the flattening phase begins, the crew releases the old jib sheet and, taking the new jib sheet in her hand as she crosses the boat, trims the jib to an approximately close reach position. The jib snaps into its new position without luffing. The movements of the skipper and crew are similar. They both start with feet against the leeward tank and push off from a crouched position. They reach for the windward rail with one hand for another point of support. As they reach the new rail, they do a half twist so they're turned correctly, and the skipper switches the tiller and the main sheet only after he is already on the new rail. The first timing element in the flattening phase is bringing the tiller back to the center line of the boat. The boat has a lot of turning momentum at this part of the tack, so the tiller is brought to center just before the boat reaches the new close haul position, letting the momentum take it the final way. The main is eased when the boat is well past the head to wind position and needs to be in its eased position when the boat gets down to its new close haul. The skipper and crew need to move on to the new rail as quickly as possible, and it is extremely important that they move together in sync. The tiller main sheet hand switch occurs only after the skipper is already on the new windward rail. It is more important to flatten the boat. The skipper can sail the boat with his hands crossed for as long as necessary. The sharp flattening accelerates the boat, moving the apparent wind forward. The sailing wind is at a close reach angle at this point. Once the boat is flat and on its new close haul position, the sails are pulled back in. Tacking needs to be practiced over and over again until it becomes part of the muscle memory and the sailors don't have to think about it. Then they can think about all of the other aspects of the race.